Hello, everybody. I think we are live. Lori Swatson here, CEO of Inspire Tech and the founder of Career Alchemy Academy, with another broadcast, LinkedIn Live broadcast, Career Alchemy broadcast, um, talking to you about what's happening in my life that is hopefully relevant to things that are happening in your life. That's kind of why I became a coach, is to support women who are in and around tech, who've reached a point in their careers where they're just not feeling it anymore and they're ready to feel different, more energized, more inspired, all of those things, more connected to their authentic selves again, more their career is in more alignment with the things that matter to them, the way they want to have impact, all of those things. And that's why today's discussion is very much in alignment with what, all that I just said, all of the ways that I am looking to support women. And what I call today's discussion is what I wish my career coach had asked me. So I was this month inside of Career Alchemy Academy, visibility is our touchstone. So we're talking about why it's important to be more visible in your career, to raise the awareness of yourself in the market, why it's why we might shy away from it, ways to be more visible. We're actually doing career visibility bingo. As if you know me, anything that I can do that would either connect something to karaoke or a game, I'm going to do. So I created career visibility bingo, and we're going to have fun. We're going to have prizes, and it's also hopefully going to plant some seeds of visibility that support their careers right away or into the future. Because that's the thing about visibility, is that it's an all the time career nurturing process, and you're always sort of planting seeds. Sometimes you have more time to plant more seeds, and then depending on what's happening in life, you have less time, but you're still planting seeds, right? So making the decision to be more visible in your career can feel vulnerable. It feels scary. It can feel messy. It can absolutely trigger, at least for me, and I know this is true because I've heard it from others that I've coached. It can trigger this sort of childhood um, hurts and pains, like rejection and not being picked for the team. I mean, that's what it means when you start to put yourself out there more and ask for things, that you are going to be potentially getting rejections, right? People saying no. And so but rather than avoid it, let's go after it and become more and more comfortable with the rejection, with the no. Because the other side of feeling vulnerable and sort of opening yourself up to uh, triggers of past hurtful things that might have happened to you when you became more visible, for in a classroom or in your career. The other side of it is power. You also being visible um, gives you an opportunity to feel more powerful, to feel more connected, to get more support. And so it can feel scary, but it also um, is an amazing, amazing way to build your confidence and uh, and open more doors and create more opportunities for yourself. So it's because visibility uh, in our careers taps into both the vulnerable and our power, that it's probably what I consider one of the most important things you can do. It's we have 3 pillars inside of Career Alchemy Academy. And the first pillar is the vision. You kind of need to know where you're going. what your values are and what you're aligned with, which is very much what I'm going to talk about today. But also visibility. Then there's the second pillar is the path, and visibility. First thing on the path is, how do I get more visible? How do I get more comfortable with being visible? How do I tap into the power of visibility and connection and support through visibility? So it's because it's both taps us into our vulnerability, where we can build that capacity to be with the scary, but also taps us into our power, where we can build the capacity to be more powerful and show up more in the world. So given all of that and my beliefs and why I think it's so important, that we're spending a whole month on it inside of Career Alchemy Academy, but also, it is one of the three, it's in pillar number 2, it is the first thing we focus on. And so you might be surprised when I tell you that last week, was it last week? Yes, it was just last week. I woke up in the morning and realized that I was going to cancel 2 visibility vehicles, as we call them, 2 events that I had scheduled for myself on the same day in Chicago. One was a meeting with 2, what I consider like really strong, successful, amazing women who, one of them I had seen at an event, and she had suggested that the 3 of us meet to talk about creating something together, that was going to be, around leadership, and the leadership career path, and specifically focusing on solving the problem of what's getting in the way of women moving into management. We have a real broken rung on that ladder. And so we were going to see what we could come up with, and an event or something. And so I was super stoked about that. And then the second thing that I had signed up for was it was an event where this really cool panel of women were going to be talking about career progression, in a room of what I would consider to be my ideal clients. So there was, potentially lots of opportunity to meet women, let them know who I am, what I do, and potentially turn into, clients for me. So, I mean, that, for someone inside of corporate, why be visible is, to get more promotions, to get more opportunities, to, if you're on a job search, to get more interviews. And for someone who is leading a business like I am, visibility is about getting more clients and getting more referrals and recommendations from people. And so it seemed really like a bad business decision for me to be thinking about canceling the event and not going, so not doing the meeting with the 2 women and not doing this event where a lot of my potential future clients could be. But I canceled, and I canceled because I found out, I knew my daughter was coming in town. My husband and my daughter were going to Riot Fest. And so I knew that was happening, and Riot Fest was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But what I hadn't really considered is that she'd be coming in Thursday in order to go Friday, early Friday they go like every minute pretty much of, whether it's Lollapalooza or Riot Fest. I used to join them. Now I go on occasional one day. That's all I really got in me for that. But I thought, oh my gosh, she's going to be in town. We can go to dinner. We can go play trivia, which is one of the things my daughter and I and my husband really enjoy doing together. And so I could have had these meetings and just skipped all of that and spent an hour or 2 with her when I got home before she went to bed to get up early. Or I could cancel just the back meeting and hustle downtown for the one with the 2 women. But then at the end of that meeting, I would be coming back in rush hour from downtown Chicago, crossing my fingers that I could make it to trivia in time, and then would not have had a leisurely dinner ahead of that. And so I kept playing all of these things, through my mind. And I said, I'm canceling. I'm canceling. And I let them know, the two women, very gracious. I canceled and sent the person who's in charge of the event that I was no longer going to be able to attend. Everyone gracious, right? Then I texted the two women and I said, I just want you to know this is not only an act of self care, but it's an act of aligning my actions with what matters most to me, my values. And so that's why I was saying in pillar number one, we really want to understand where you want to go and how where you're going aligns with who you are today, your authentic self, what you value, because values can shift. There's core values, but then other values might shift as you get older and become smarter, right? And, things that you used to value in your 20s are not of interest to you anymore, right? And so when you're at a career crossroads, rethinking about all of that. And I said, what matters to me most is my family, is spending time with my family, making memories with my family. Yes, I want to, continue to thrive, have a thriving business. And yes, I really want to um, have some impact by helping women who are considering exiting uh, uh, before they step into management, and how we can support them, more women moving into management and leadership, because it's so important for, I believe, for the economy, but also the health of society. And so, and my family, right? Um, so I sent that text, and as I was sending it, um, I felt like this sadness, and I'm like, what was that? So I, of course, when I feel feelings, I like to sort of see what the thoughts are behind it. And I realized that I wished I had made more decisions in my career from a place of what matters most to be me. Like that question, if I could ask that question, what matters most to you right now? And then deciding from there. Um, so I was imagining, I was thinking about a past career coach, that I had. And we had, and I moved out of recruiting for someone else, and moved out of corporate and decided to become my own boss and run my own recruiting firm. I knew recruiting, but but I wasn't a CEO yet, right? I there was so much I didn't know about running a business and growing a business, marketing and operations and leadership and hiring and delivering exceptional results for my clients. Those were things that on the periphery when you're working for someone else. But now I'm running this business. Now I have a team, and now I'm the primary rainmaker, and I'm also managing the health of the team and all of that. And so I hired a coach, and this coach did an excellent job with all of that practical and tactical and even strategic stuff around uh, me growing into, and I actually had more than one coach throughout this time, but all really focused on the same sort of thing, the marketing, the operations, the leadership, all those things. And so um, the practical, the tactical, the strategic parts of running a business and putting on that CEO hat every day, and recognizing the difference between being on a team and contributing to the success of someone else's organization, and now leading and growing a business. And so all of the work that they taught me mattered. It absolutely helped in the success um, of the business, my recruiting firm that I grew, and I was grinding it. I mean, I was, I don't know if I've ever admitted this, talking about being visible, but I had my first child, and a couple years into my business, and I took 1 week off in maternity leave. I had my second child 5 years into my business, and I took 1 week off for maternity leave. Like I was skewed with what I knew. If I had been asked that question or knew to ask it of myself, like what matters most to me, figuring out how to give myself, 3 months of just quiet time with the family. In hindsight, I think that might have been pretty good. And my kids are great. They don't remember any of that, but I remember it. I remember what it felt like to be sort of pulled in two directions, like not wanting to leave the house and having this responsibility of this growing company that was like another child, right? And these people working for me and depending on me. And I didn't know I didn't have a coach that could say, hey, wait, let's take a second here. Let's really, uh, before we take any more action, let's take a step back, let's take a pause. So imagine I'm coaching you, right? And I'm going to ask you some questions that I wish I had been asked, um, back in the day. And in fact, I'm really glad I'm asking them in this blog or in this conversation with you, because it's never too late to really spend some time with these different questions. So imagine that I'm coaching you. What I would say to you is, instead of jumping more into the grind and more into the actions, even visibility vehicles that are helping you build your career, let's slow down, right? Let's go inside first. I mean, that's what I think, is one of the things that is top priority for me as a coach because of all of this history is that the outward action matters far less than tuning into our inside, what our values are, what matters, and listening to that quiet voice to allow it to give us the information that actually is the most important information we can get about the next right step for ourselves in our career. And so, when I'm asking these questions, you can watch this video. I think it stays up on LinkedIn for a couple of weeks before they take it down, or they're in the blog, which if you go to inspiretech.com under resources, career blog, all my blogs are up there. So you can go back and read them. But I want to read these questions to you. So, and I want you to, take these questions in right now. And maybe there's one you really like. And focus on that. But the first question is just what brings you joy that lights you up from the inside out? What is it that brings you joy? Think about, you know, times when you've really felt, you know what I mean? It's like so filled up and you're like almost uncomfortable with it because it feels foreign in some ways, but you love it so much. Like, what are those times when you're laughing your ass off with your girlfriends, or you're generally laughter is involved, or music, or poetry, creativity of some sort. But what is it? What are those times? Who are those people that just fill you up with joy? Second question: how do you want to feel every day as you walk through your career? As you get up in the morning and as you walk through your day and you're attending to the things related to your career, how do you want to feel? What do you secretly, or not so secretly, desire to do in your career, even if it feels crazy? So I love to think about, like, let's turn everything upside down, forget about, you know, how corporations were built during the beginning of the industrial age, and as we've gone forward, how they were built, because we all know they weren't built for us, for women. And if they were, I'd love to get a group of you together. If you're interested, DM me on LinkedIn and let's just talk about, what would corporate America look like if we built it? Because you have masculine and feminine energies, but we have just built everything off the masculine. And masculine obviously that energy is really important for production and getting stuff done, but that we've completely ignore or minimize the feminine energy. And I've talked about this before, but I want to just I don't know what we'll do with it, but let's do something. So anyways, that was a little side note. But I like to think about, like, what would be so crazy that I've been thinking about in my career. What would be so crazy? Maybe it's starting your own business. Maybe it's, writing a book. For me, I've been slowly, again, we talk about capacity a lot, like expanding my comfort zone around talking more directly about divine intervention, divine guidance, signs, synchronicities. Like that for me is a little crazy when you think about working with women in and around technology who are inside of corporate America and trying to build careers. And I'm like, hey, wait a second, but what if we go to bed tonight and ask a question of our, of our higher consciousness as we're sleeping and see what happens, and then maybe build off of that? Like, how crazy is that? And how wise, how very wise. But in any case, that's one question. Next question. What hidden emotions like anger or grief or frustration or guilt might be quietly steering your career choices? So really think about that. Like, if we don't, and we've suffered a lot of trauma, everyone, little traumas everywhere, big traumas. Um, it's just part of life. And for me, again, it is part of the balance. The contrast is there's going to be these beautiful, joyous, expansive times. There's going to be these hard, traumatic in big and small ways, challenging times. We're going to feel calm. We're going to feel supported. We're going to feel frustrated. We're going to feel alone. And so all of these things. So it's just like, yep, that's it, and I don't resist any of that or fight it anymore. But if you got some, let's call it sort of unresolved anger, let's say about like this coach, that I, wish these coaches had asked if I had asked me more about what's going on the inside and what really matters to me. My career might have been a little bit different. The way I built my business might have been way different. And so am I pissed off at them? Maybe I need to spend a little time with that. I'm actually not, but I was. So I'm not, but I was. And that's because I've spent time with that. And then, but if you don't spend time with it, you're just bringing it with you into the next thing. And then, the next coaching relationship gets sort of that same stuff on them that I'm bringing because I haven't resolved anything fully. It goes, or your boss that the kind of mud that you bring forward from the relationship with your past boss that you never resolved, it can't help but somehow come into the current relationship, and that impacts things. So that's a question to ask. What breaks your heart so deeply that it calls you to do something about it? This again points to what matters most to you. And then finally, what ripple effect do you want your work to set in motion? So spend some time with these questions. These are not to-dos. These are not things to be checked off a list. Take your time with them. They're invitations to pause, reflect, notice what truly matters to you, and see perhaps some gaps. Look for ways in which you can bring more of what matters. And it might be saying no to going to networking events, or it might be saying yes, right? Like if what matters to you is just finding your next career move in a company whose mission you fully believe in. And so getting out there to events where those companies might swim, what pools are they swimming in, and getting yourself there, that might be the thing to do. That might be saying yes to it, or in some cases saying no, it just depends. But the thing that I really, want to emphasize in this is when you let that inner wisdom guide your decisions, your visibility changes. You're no longer maybe seen everywhere, but you're seen where it matters. At trivia with my husband and my daughter, seeing me. Yes. Or at an event on climate change where other people in the room are have the same level of concern or interest in that topic, and next thing I know, I meet my new boss, right? So I can't go back in time, but I can choose self-care. I can choose to align my actions with what matters most in my life. That could mean canceling a networking event is actually the most powerful thing I can do for my life and for my career. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. The only other thing I want to say is always is an invitation to see the QR code over one of my shoulders. Um, I'm running an event. It starts October 10th, Friday at noon, 4 live calls over 2 weeks. The calls are recorded. So if you can't come to them, you can at least watch the recording. And there's going to be a limited replay for a couple weeks after this workshop ends. So you have time. But, I highly always encourage people to show up live. There's just something about that, at least some of the calls, and especially the kickoff call would be the best, but it's called Using Creativity to Unlock Career Clarity. It is, like I said, 4 calls over 2 weeks, and then we have things we're doing in between. I'm going to teach you my creative metaphor process. We're going to use some sort of something creative. You get to choose it, whatever it is, like some sort of creative medium. I've done album art because I really appreciate art. I've people do knitting, or it might be photography. It might be just, doodling in an adult coloring book. It might be cooking, making wonderful desserts over the 2 weeks every night. And then we take that, we use creative metaphor with the creative medium to ask and begin to find some information about these dilemmas that we're faced with that can give us more clarity in our careers. It's just fun. It's different. It's out of your left brain, practical, tactical, logical process, analytical that happens most of these days. And it's moving you into creativity and imagination and joy and music and laughter and poetry and uh, visual beauty and oh my gosh. So who doesn't want to steep themselves in that? Please, it doesn't cost a penny except a little bit of time, but it doesn't cost you money. And the time, the value you're going to get out of at the end of this is way worth the time. And tell all of your girlfriends and your leaders, you know, uh, just tell everybody. I would appreciate that. Helping me raise my visibility by sharing this event. That's cool. So that's it. So I invite you to go, and remember that career visibility without alignment with your values, with the things that matter most to you, is just noise. So you want to start with, what matters most, and then be seen where it counts. Be seen by, I don't know, like I'm just imagining our eyes locking at an event. So I hope that happens. So peace. I will be on vacation next week. So right now, I do not plan to come live on LinkedIn, but if I feel like it, I might just show up in my bathing suit top and talk to y'all. Otherwise, you'll see me again the week of October 6th. So I guess it would be October 8th, or I think I'm actually Tuesday, October 7th that week, because I have an event I'm going to on October 8th. So that's it, everyone. Have a blessed day. Have fun, fun, fun. Tune in to what matters most to you. Reflect on those questions. And let's change work culture so it works for all of us. So it's balance between this wonderful, productive, get stuff done energy with this calm, quiet, nurturing, collaborative, consensus energy. Do you feel it? I feel it. Talk to you soon.